Good people, this is the new ERA 2 from Fractal Design, an absolutely gorgeous and feature-packed ITX enclosure that is slowly leading to be my case of the year right now. That is very interesting. I do love their new mechanical design with the exterior shell and the top panel that is completely toolless. I think the price is right at $199 for what you get, which is basically a taller Terra with a similar sandwich-style formula, movable motherboard spine, integrated cooling by default, and this is Fractal Design we're talking about, so the wood, or the sauna floor top panel is tastefully integrated in design, but also handling, as it is magnetic and just requires that precision press to come off. Everything about this case is just so much better than the original, but I'm kind of glad it looks familiar. Now, from a design point of view, Fractal Design nailed it out of the park with the ERA 2. Everything about the ventilation pattern, all the curvature of the exterior, there are no hard angles nor sharp lines. Everything feels a little bit organic. The wood top panel is the same on all three models, so dark walnut. It's not too orange, it's kind of muted brown, but still is very classy. Okay. I think for most people, the question might become of like which color to choose. And so we have the dark charcoal gray, we have the light silver, and we have midnight blue. The midnight blue is absolutely stunning with proper lighting, and all of these cases are stunning with proper lighting, but as soon as you dim the lights, you kind of lose the shape of the enclosure. So like this corner to corner line in the front panel that adds a little complexity to the enclosure is absolutely lost with the darker models. With the silver one, it really highlights the shape of the exterior very well, regardless of the lighting. But just something to keep in mind if you're planning to put any of these in your setup space, you need proper lighting to appreciate the lines of this case, you know? And just like with everyone trying to catch up to Fractal Design and their wood implementation, this one is absolutely gorgeous in terms of the feel, the finish, the metal structural rigidity at the back, the thickness, like it feels really good. The laser edged printing, both for the logo and the little point where you have to press to release the top panel. I have not found a single imperfection in the wood on all three models, which is awesome. And because it's one solid piece, you do get this like really organic, consistent grain. But also my point is like, I would love to see more companies follow Fractal Design's approach in terms of releasing these sort of funky colors into the case space, because black is boring, man. Initially, I thought the blue one would be my choice, and it's gorgeous. I just feel like the silver one is a bit more classy from a point of view of being able to fit in more environments. But let me know if you agree. Also, something to keep in mind is the front I/O and how it is outlined with black on the outside. So with the dark models, the I/O kind of blends in with the front panel, but on the silver, it is really in your face. And also something else is that this exterior aluminum shell feels like this one unibody design. It's not. You can definitely see the edges and where the panels are connected, but they've done a good job of like smoothing things out. So when you pass your fingers through the connecting joints and stuff, it's not like a super harsh cut. So it's nice and smooth. Montech with another insane value product, the HyperFlow ARGB AIOs, available in black or white, 240 or 360 sizes, with full platform compatibility and friendly tools along the way that not only look gorgeous with pump lighting and matching blade illumination, but also performance that should satisfy with any hot silicon thanks to high-speed fans, high-density fins on the rad, a good pump, and daisy-chained fans for easy cable management, all backed by this 6-year warranty, so you don't have to worry. Check it out below. Now, given the curvy lines, it almost hides its true size. It's about as tall as the Micro ATX A3 from Lian Li, but slimmer, of course. And for real, guys, despite the challenging cable management in these smaller cases, just seeing the size difference between like a regular mid-tower and the ERA 2 should be this massive incentive to maybe explore SFF. Now let me show you how brilliant this mechanical design is. The top panel cannot be installed backwards, which is a nice little value add, quality of life improvement. Then, to remove the shell, we have a dust filter at the bottom that also acts as our locking mechanism. You simply pull it out, it does make a really unpleasant sound, and simply pull up the exterior shell. So this is off, and we're not done yet. The top panel is not screwed in. It has these little clips. You push them on, and the top panel comes off. So this makes installation of radiators, set of fans at the top super simple, and we also have an arrow pointing to the front. That means reinstalling this thing becomes foolproof. There's no way to mess that up. Also, if you decide not to use the dust filter for some reason, you can still install the shell and it kind of stays with the frame, it's just not super secure. I do appreciate these Velcro straps to help with cable management, especially with these long fan cables, but also the fan has an extension, which is important for ITX when you are limited with how many fan headers you have. Not just like with the Terra, we have a movable spine in 3 positions. It is stepless, but with little reference nubbins so you can align the front and the back together to give us either more room for the CPU cooler or more room for the GPU chamber. You don't have to unscrew it all the way, just enough for the screw to pass through the knobbin and securing it. Let's do the same thing on the back side. And I really appreciate Fractal's clarity in all the clearances for the CPU cooler and the GPU chamber, regardless of the 3 spine positions. So with a standard 2-slot graphics card, having 70 millimeters of clearance for the CPU cooler is actually really decent for all your low profile options. So check out our full roundup below. But going to the 3rd position gives us the most amount of room for our GPU. Lengthwise, it's fine. It can still fit my ROG Strix 3080. And of course, there's still plenty of clearance on the motherboard side for a standard AIO pump and either a 240 or a 280 radiator up top. I do love this massive opening in the front to slide your graphics card in, but with my tall GPU, this power connector, the extension is on the way. So luckily, we can remove it. Actually, it'd be so good if this power connector was also on some sort of like a toolless mechanism. There we go, graphics card installed. So this is an interesting turn of events. In my however many years I've been building computers and reviewing cases, I have never seen this happen. You guys see this, right? Motherboard standoff over here in this corner is taller than the one over here. This is the correct one, and I'm wondering like, why does my I/O shield with the motherboard is not aligning, but Fractal Design pulled a whoopsie. I checked with the other cases and they're all normal, not the tall. And unfortunately, Fractal Design does not include additional standoffs or the removal tool, so good luck to you. So after the assembly is complete, there are 2 things to keep in mind in your GPU chamber. Number 1 are your PCIe cables. Hopefully you're using some flexible cables that can simply tuck away and can be routed using certain anchor points on the actual frame so that the fans don't eat those cables. And number 2 is this power extension. At first I thought it's going to be an artificial compromise just because it is blocking some height for the GPU, because you can see there's plenty of space between it and your top fans, but you still need room for those power cables. So at least it's there, it's removable, but yeah, you are kind of going to be bumping into it with really tall graphics cards. There's plenty of space underneath the graphics card to route your dual SSDs in this cage, which I really, really like. And rotating the case, man, I absolutely hate doing cable management in such confined spaces, but you can slide down the cover, you know, the exterior shell, and sort of compressing certain things. Of course, you can spend some time making sure everything is nice and clean, but this is my ideal scenario, making sure that the tubes are exiting properly, and that's pretty much my only priority when it comes to something you can't see anyway. The only thing to keep in mind over here with our top-mounted radiator are all the cables exiting from the power supply towards our fans. So you have to bend them out of the way so they don't get eaten. And number 2 is just power extension. You just have to be mindful of it, and you can't really put it away anywhere. But as you can see, there's still clearance between our cooling hardware and the motherboard space and the fans. So at least I'm happy with that. And just look at how awesome this top design is. You simply remove the top panel, nothing has to be screwed, and that's it. Let's say you can adjust certain things, unplug the PCIe, work on your cable management again, maybe plug in the cables for your GPU, and just simply pop this back in without absolutely not touching a screwdriver. It's awesome. Unfortunately, the one disadvantage of having this single shell design is that everything has to be unplugged from the back in order to get inside the case. As for temperatures on the Era 2, on the CPU side with our 240 AIO, they're not horrible, but they're not chart-topping either. Opening the shell, for example, you can see there's a 5-degree difference, so there is some restriction happening with that exterior shell, but at least I'm happy those 2 120mm fans are at the bottom because they help a lot. And the same story continues on the GPU side. It's not horrible, but as you can see, opening up the case does drop our GPU temperature by 4 degrees, which is pretty significant. But even more significant is the entire approach to the Era 2. Fractal Design have definitely redeemed themselves over the disaster that was the original Era. I think the price point is actually quite fair given what you get. The excellent mechanical design of the top panel in particular, that seals it for me, especially when you're trying to install an AIO at the top and trying to maybe do some cable management at the same time. The only hiccup is really needing to unplug stuff at the back in order to get inside of removing this entire top shell. The most important thing they got right with the Era 2 is that they're not solely relying on this pretty shell with a cool wood piece on top to sell. It will sell because of those two things alone for sure, but it's not why you'd probably want to buy the Era 2, because the ITX experience, even though the cable management is still challenging, partially because I really hate it, but also just it's a compact space. You have to deal with it. And the Era 2, because of this removable top panel, actually makes it way easier, especially because the cables are facing up. So rerouting certain things without the top panel present makes it way easier. And so that is my Era 2 experience. I actually enjoyed it quite a lot. I'm Dimitri. Thanks so much for watching. I'll talk to you in the next video.